Hello. On the vast continent of Australia, there are many scenic spots that attract tens of thousands of tourists from all over the world to explore every year. In the 1990s, a criminal repeatedly roamed the highways looking for backpackers who wanted to hitchhike and then attacked them. After being exposed, the case shocked all of Australia. The story takes place in New South Wales, located in southeastern Australia, and the most populous state in Australia, with Sydney as its capital. In the southern highlands of New South Wales, there is a place called Belanglo State Forest, covering an area of 3,800 hectares. This is a man-made forest, mainly pine trees with spacious areas and lawns inside, making it very suitable for wild camping. Near the forest, there is a road leading to Sydney. Transportation is very convenient, so many tourists come here every holiday. They usually carry a travel bag with essentials and walk to experience the natural scenery. Therefore, they are often called backpackers. Throughout the journey, if they need to travel, they will stand by the roadside and wave at vehicles to ask for a hitchhike. For backpackers, this method can significantly reduce travel costs. However, it often comes with certain risks. If the driver has bad intentions, the safety of the tourists is often not guaranteed. Most scenic spots in Australia are sparsely populated. To ensure safety, backpackers often choose to travel in groups. However, despite this, many still do not escape danger. So what happened during the journey? Next, let's turn back time to September 19, 1992. September 19, 1992. It was a Saturday weekend. Early in the morning, two people were practicing jogging in Belanglo State Forest. While passing through a dense area of trees, they smelled a faint, foul odor. Out of curiosity, they both stopped to find the source of the smell. Shortly after, they found a decomposing body under a rock. Seeing this, they quickly called the police. Soon after, the police arrived at the area and cordoned off the scene. The official investigation began. Forensic results showed the victim was a girl lying face down, with her hands tied behind her back, clutching strands of hair that could belong to the suspect. There were many stab wounds on the body. Due to severe decomposition, it was impossible to confirm if the victim had been assaulted. The time of death was estimated to be 5 months ago. To find more clues, the police then searched all the surrounding areas. The next morning, September 20th, police discovered another girl in a bush 50 meters from the scene. The girl's body was in the exact same position as the first. Her face was covered with a red cloth, and her body was hidden under some branches. In addition to stab wounds, forensics discovered 10 gunshot wounds. The weapon used was a .22 caliber semi-automatic rifle. The time of death was also approximately 5 months prior. Police speculated that the two girls were held there for some time, and the second girl was used for target practice. After DNA testing in the laboratory, experts identified the two victims. Joanne Walters, 22, was a professional nanny. Carolyn Clark was 21. Neither were locals. They both came from the United Kingdom. Carolyn had revealed to her family years ago that she really wanted to travel to Australia. So when the opportunity arose this year, she went to Australia alone to fulfill her long-held dream. 5 months ago, in April 1992, she arrived in Sydney and met Joanne, also a backpacker, at a hotel. Coincidentally, both were British, so they got along very well. Backpackers often went missing in Australia, so for safety reasons, they decided to travel together. Due to financial issues, they planned to travel from Sydney to Mildura in Victoria. Then they planned to head to an orchard in Tasmania to earn some money by picking fruit. That job would provide them with extra income to explore more places. The pair called their families to announce they would hitchhike from Sydney to Mildura. Both sets of parents were worried and advised them to take a bus instead of hitchhiking. A month later in May 1992, the parents of the two girls could no longer contact them. The two families traveled thousands of miles from England to Australia to seek police assistance. According to the investigation, the last place they were seen was in King's Cross, Sydney, and a witness saw them getting into a car. Every year in Australia, many backpackers go missing, and tracking equipment is limited. So where did they really go? 5 months after disappearing, they were both found in Belanglo State Forest, about 136 kilometers from King's Cross. Shortly after the incident, police released information about the case, hoping someone could provide further clues. In recent years, several disappearances have occurred near Belanglo State Forest. There might be a criminal there. Some suggested searching the entire forest, but the police temporarily disagreed with that idea. To shed light on the case, police invited a trace analysis expert to conduct a forensic examination of the scene. Based on scene photos and reports, experts concluded that the gunshot wounds to Caroline's head came from different angles. From this, they proposed two possibilities. First, the suspect is a male, around 30 years old, physically fit, familiar with the terrain, and possibly a hunter. While attacking Caroline, he moved constantly and shot at her from multiple angles. The second possibility is that there were two suspects. One is older, hot-tempered, and dominant, while the other acts impulsively and assists in the crime. Investigators then checked local individuals meeting those criteria. Although they found several suspects, the evidence was not strong enough to charge anyone. On October 2, 1993, a year after the incident, a man looking for firewood in Belanglo State Forest accidentally found two sets of remains under some dry logs in a remote corner. The man then quickly called the police. After the investigation, police identified the victims as a male and a female. The male had 8 stab wounds, with the fatal one being a knife to the heart. As for the woman, in addition to stab wounds, she also had many broken bones. Both identities were confirmed via DNA comparison: James Gibson, 19, and Deborah Everest, 19. They were a couple from Melbourne, Australia. According to the investigation, on December 30th, 1989, they set out together to walk to Sydney and disappeared from that point on. Their families reported the case to the police. Shortly after, police found the missing man's camera in a northern suburb of Sydney. Witnesses also saw the two hitchhiking in a car heading toward Melbourne. On March 13, 1993, months after they vanished, police found James's backpack in a northern suburb of Sydney, about 120 kilometers from Belanglo State Forest. The couple's case was very similar to the two girls police initially found. Therefore, police suspected there might be a serial killer near Sydney who hunted backpackers trying to hitchhike on the highway. The two incidents happened 3 years apart. There could be other victims in the forest, so police decided to conduct a comprehensive search of the entire area. On November 1, 1993, a month into the search, teams found another set of female remains 800 meters from where James and Deborah were found. The victim was face down, hands tied clothing, disarrayed with multiple wounds on the body. Police later identified the victim as Simone Schmidl, 21, from Germany. 2 years prior, she traveled alone from Germany to Australia and subsequently disappeared. Based on her last contact with her family, she was in Sydney and planned to walk to Melbourne. It was confirmed that the clothes Simone was wearing when found did not belong to her, but to someone else. Consequently, police suspected there might be even more victims in the forest. 3 days later, on November 4, 1993, searchers found 2 more victims, a male and a female, both with multiple gunshot wounds to the head. The weapon used was a .22 caliber semi-automatic rifle. The 2 victims were 50 meters apart, and the girl's head was not found nearby. Those 2 victims were Gabor Neugebauer, 21, and Anja Habschied, 20, a couple from Germany. 2 years ago, the couple came to Australia to travel and were last seen in Sydney. the clothes Anya was wearing actually belonged to Simone. By that time, police had found a total of 7 victims in the forest, 3 males and 4 females, all backpackers. The MO was very similar, suggesting they might all have been murdered by the same person. Around all the crime scenes, traces of campfires, beer bottles, hand ties, and other items were found. Many shell casings were found at the scenes and determined to belong to 2 different firearms. All 7 victims disappeared after trying to hitchhike between Melbourne and Sydney. Connecting the two is the Hume Highway, built in 1817, with a total length of 840 kilometers. By November 5, 1993, news of the case was made public. Police also offered a 500,000 Australian dollar reward, hoping for useful clues. They warned international backpackers in Australia against hitchhiking on the Hume Highway. The case caused a sharp decline in backpacking across Australia. An investigation was launched, identifying 230 suspects. After further screening, 32 suspects remained. However, police lacked direct evidence linking any of them, so the investigation stalled. On February 26, 1994, 3 months after the news broke, police traced and monitored the 32 suspects. They continuously investigated their personal lives and eventually identified the prime suspect. That person was Ivan Milat, 50 years old. He lived in the suburbs of Sydney and worked as a road maintenance worker on the Hume Highway. According to the investigation, he sold his car shortly after police announced the murders of the 2 British girls. Police visited his workplace and discovered he was absent during the times of the 7 crimes, and his whereabouts were suspicious. Police then directly met with Ivan, but he denied all involvement, and his family provided him with an alibi. Investigation revealed that the suspect, Ivan Milat, 50, was the son of a Croatian immigrant father and a housewife mother. They had 14 children, with Ivan being the 5th. Due to the large number of siblings, his parents didn't have much time to care for each child. As a result, 7 of the 14 children had criminal records from a young age, including Ivan. At 17, Ivan was sent to a juvenile detention center. At 20, he was imprisoned for car theft and robbery. According to friends, Ivan was very familiar with guns, loved the thrill of shooting, and frequently went hunting in the wilderness. At age 27, while working at Sydney's Liverpool station, he picked up 2 female backpackers and tied them up using a knife to prevent their escape. Ivan briefly stepped away while passing a service station. Seeing this, the 2 girls took the chance to escape and reported the incident to the police. Fearing arrest, Ivan fled to New Zealand and secretly returned to Australia 3 years later. He was subsequently arrested by the police. However, because he paid a lot of money for top lawyers, he was acquitted. Police also discovered that Ivan owned a property near Belanglo State Forest, where he occasionally stayed. Given the criminal histories of many family members, police did not find Ivan's alibi credible. In this case, there could be more than one perpetrator, possibly including his family members. If Ivan was indeed the killer, there might still be evidence in his house. However, at that time, police lacked evidence to charge him, so the court could not issue a search warrant. Therefore, the police could only secretly monitor his family, hoping to find some useful clues. On April 13, 1994, 5 months after the case was made public, while rescreening the information provided by the public, police discovered that on the 8th day after the news was released, there was a phone call from the UK. The caller, Paul Onions, 24, stated that on January 25, 1993 years prior, he had traveled from the UK to Australia for backpacking. During that time, he stopped at Liverpool Station in Sydney to hitch a ride to Mildura. Upon reaching a parking lot, he bumped into a bearded, middle-aged man who asked him, "Hey mate, where are you heading? Do you want a lift?" Paul naturally agreed. After getting in the car, the driver introduced himself as Bill. On the way, they chatted continuously. Approaching Belanglo State Forest, The driver pulled over, opened the driver's seat cushion, and searched for something inside. Paul had heard that in Australia, some drivers often preyed on hitchhikers, so it was important to stay vigilant. Paul then made an excuse to step out of the car to stretch and relax for a bit. Although feeling a little confused, he got back into the car without thinking too much. Unexpectedly, the driver Bill suddenly opened the door, stepped out and took a revolver and a rope from the seat cushion. Seeing this, Paul immediately realized something was wrong, quickly unfastened his seatbelt, got out of the car, and ran onto the road. Because the driver had a gun in his hand, Paul didn't run in a straight line but zigzagged. At that moment, he heard 2 gunshots, but fortunately the man missed. Shortly after, a car came down the road. Paul frantically waved his hands to block the vehicle. When the car stopped, before he could even explain, he opened the back door, jumped in, and urged the driver to speed away. The driver was a woman with her 5 children and her sister in the car. Through the rearview mirror, the woman saw a middle-aged man with a gun in his hand. Out of fear, and for her family's safety, she quickly stepped on the gas and sped away from the area. The woman then drove Paul to the police station. Paul subsequently provided the police with detailed notes about the encounter, the appearance of the driver Bill, and the car model. From then on, Paul didn't dare to travel any further and flew straight back to the UK. It wasn't until he saw the news in the press that he thought Bill might be the killer in the case, so he called the police to report the situation. Upon learning this, investigators immediately went to the Bowral police station, where Paul had reported the crime, and retrieved the records from that time. From the records, police also suspected that driver Bill might be involved in the case. Half a year after the announcement, on May 5, 1994, investigators called Paul to invite him to Australia to assist with the investigation. Upon receiving the call, Paul immediately flew to New South Wales, Australia. Among the photos of the 32 suspects provided by the police, he recognized driver Bill at a glance. And that person was none other than Ivan Milat. At that point, the police finally had evidence to present to the court to apply for a search warrant. On May 22, 1994, the police raided Ivan's house on suspicion of robbery. He was arrested for the illegal use of a weapon, and investigators conducted a thorough search of his residence. They found a .22 caliber rifle and parts of another .22 caliber rifle. Not only that, they also found the 7 victims' foreign currency equipment, clothing cameras, and other items. They even found Paul's blue shirt. The water bottle belonging to the 5th victim, Simone, was found in the garage. In Ivan's bedroom, a blood-stained rope was also found. After comparison, the blood belonged to the 2 British women, Caroline and Joanne. After finding these crucial pieces of evidence, the police applied to the court for another warrant to search the residences of Ivan's family. There, the police found the backpack Simone was carrying when she disappeared at Ivan's brother's house. Simone's sleeping bag was found at Ivan's sister's house, and a large amount of weapons and ammunition were also discovered in the homes of other relatives. Police suspected that Ivan's family might have assisted in the crimes. On March 26, 1996, 2 years after Ivan's arrest, the case went to trial at the Supreme Court of New South Wales. In court, the prosecution presented over 100 witnesses to testify. Family members provided alibis. The defense lawyer argued that although some of the victims' belongings were found in Ivan's house, there was no clear direct evidence linking the case to their client. After a lengthy 4-month trial, the case finally came to an end on July 27, 1996. The court sentenced the defendant, Ivan Milat, to 7 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. He was also convicted of false imprisonment and robbery, receiving an 18-year sentence. The trial judge stated, "These 7 young people were at the threshold of their lives with much to look forward to, such as travel careers, happiness, love, family, and even old age. Clearly, the perpetrator acted with a contempt for humanity that is beyond belief. Ivan maintained his innocence and appealed the verdict. He even laughed loudly in the car as he left the court. His appeal was subsequently rejected by the court. After the case concluded, police named Paul as the most crucial witness in the trial and offered him a $200,000 reward, but Paul declined it. Ivan's family might have been involved in the case. At the crime scenes, police found many cigarette butts, but Ivan apparently did not smoke while his sister did. The police also investigated Ivan's sister deeply, but there was no evidence. Following his sentencing, Ivan was sent to Maitland Prison to serve his time. A year later, he and others attempted to escape from the prison, but were discovered by the guards. He was then transferred to the Goulburn Correctional Centre. This is one of the highest security prisons in Australia. During his time serving the sentence, he never pleaded guilty. He continuously appealed up to 7 times, but all were rejected by the court. Police also suspected Ivan might be linked to the disappearances of more backpackers, but they dropped all charges due to insufficient evidence. In 2012, Matthew Milat, Ivan's great-nephew, took a friend to Belanglo State Forest and murdered him. After being arrested by the police, he arrogantly said, "That's what the Milats do." Because of this, Ivan's great-nephew Matthew was sentenced to 43 years in prison, with a non-parole period of 30 years. On October 27, 2019, 74-year-old Ivan died in prison from stomach cancer. Despite solid and conclusive evidence, he never admitted to his crimes until his death, nor did he show any remorse in prison. Australia is a mysterious land with countless backpackers coming here every year to explore. Although many chilling incidents have occurred, many people still come to Belanglo State Forest to explore. Following the events, a warning sign was erected at the forest entrance to remind people to be more cautious when hiking. Be especially careful with cars offering rides along the way. Today's video ends here. And see you all in the next cases. Goodbye.